Hello, and welcome to 3D Vision Technology's 10-4 Tech Talk, a monthly introduction to engineering technology that can make your company better, faster, and smarter. I'm Todd Majewski, your host for today. Today's topic is reduce repetitive tasks with SOLIDWORKS Start Parts and DriveWorksXpress. Our guest speaker is Jeff Sweeney, Engineering Data Specialist and Certified SOLIDWORKS Expert for 3D Vision. Jeff works out of our Columbus office and has been with 3D Vision for over 10 years. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Hey, Jeff, before we get started, Jeff, I want to remind everyone that this show is being recorded, and we will send an email with a link to go back to the presentation in its entirety. Also, we'll be answering questions at the end of this 30-minute presentation, so use that chat window on the right-hand side to type in your questions. And also, if you have a question, you don't have to wait till the end to type in your question. So, Jeff, this is the question I think everybody in the audience is having. Why should somebody be listening to this presentation, and who is it really geared towards?
Yeah, good question. I think really this is going to be, my goal is that this is going to be for a lot of users, whether seasoned users or brand new users. Many times when I'm looking at that, see how new users work and build things, they kind of get into habits, and they work the same way over and over again. And so why I wrote this presentation was really the goal is to let everybody say, hey, there's opportunities for improvement and to be more efficient in their design process.
So there's always a better way to do things, right?
I hope so. Yeah, that's always my goal, and that's something that automation guys are always looking for. We're lazy. We're always looking for better, easier, faster ways to do something.
But just so the audience knows, nobody has to buy anything to make it faster, right?
Oh, definitely, yeah. We're going to show all out-of-the-box stuff today. We're going to show there's potential for more, but that's going to be right there at the end, at the very beginning, that we're going to show what you can do with what everybody already owns.
Okay, great. Well, let's get started.
So yeah, we're going to talk about two different things today. We're going to talk about start parts. I'm going to talk about who they're for, and we already covered that. Hopefully they're for everybody. Some people are going to be more than others, but I think everybody has an opportunity to use these start parts. So we're going to show what they are. Hopefully you're going to see some efficiency gains if you start to use them. And then I'm actually going to show you how to create your own. So it's not just a quick show. There's going to be a little bit of teaching involved as well. And then certainly after that, we're going to take it to the next level. So okay, now we're using start parts, but how can I use those start parts to do even more, to be even more efficient and faster with your system? So what I want to do is I want everybody to look at this particular part. Let's look at it for a second, and then close your eyes and think, how would you start this particular part? How would you go through ourselves here? So I'm going to go ahead and do how I'm guessing most of you do. You either are in the novice mode, where you just simply pick a particular part, blank part, or advanced, where you can have even more. So I'm going to start with a blank part. Then I'll come over to the side, and I'll choose my sketch. Let's go ahead and use our S key, because we're going to save some time with the S key. We're going to just draw that particular shape. Let's put some dimensions on there. I said that this was going to be 3 inches here. Put the value in, and we want to have a dimension from here to here, which we said was going to be 4. Let's go ahead and extrude it out to a 1/4 inch. And we'll click OK. So there we go.
Okay, 20, 30 seconds.
20, 30 seconds.
Right.
So that wasn't too bad. But certainly the whole point of this is that I want to show you that you can do it a little bit faster way. So to do that, first, as far as your setup goes, go into your SOLIDWORKS options, and under File Locations, here is the location where we can have a bunch of start parts that are ready to go. So I've already created that. In my vault here, I have a start parts directory, and I have just some simple PRT DOT files. And I'll show you how to make those in a minute. So I want to actually choose those locations. So I'll delete this guy and delete this guy, and we'll add that brand new start parts location that I've done. So that's all I've done. Now when I try to make a brand new part, same story as before, new file, new. But you see I have more choices available to me now. So here's some standard plates that I oftentimes start with. Maybe you oftentimes do some rounds. Maybe you're doing some step shaft. So this is a little step shaft with a key on here, or a regular step shaft part. So if I want to do something quickly, I can go ahead and say, all right, let's put the with the corner origin or the center origin, click OK, start the clock. Now all we need to do is add some dimensions. This was 4. This is 3, and this is a 1/4 inch. Hit rebuild.
Done. All right, so you cut that time in half.
I hope so. Yeah, because I didn't have to do any of that sketch work. That sketch work is already done for me as well. So it's a real quick way to get started, and I'm building this up. And certainly we have the ability to do even more. So that was just all that is just a little starting out boss. Something maybe a little bit more exciting, a shaft with a key in it. So you see there's actually several features in here. So if you do shafts a lot, start with these start parts, build these guys up, and now we're going. So now that's a regular part. I go save it into the location I'm done, and off I go.
That's great. So it's like a lot like using Word templates, that you have the formatting the way you want it. And I know most of our customers in our audience are already using templates for drawings, but because everyone has to have the drawing.
Title blocks.
Yeah. The title block's got to have all the certain stuff. But this is really making the standard on the part design.
Everybody starts with these primitives. Make a bunch of these primitives, save them into the system, and you're good to go. And actually, SOLIDWORKS makes things a little bit easier for that, too. So right now, this list isn't too bad, but certainly you can imagine there's no reason not to make a bunch of start parts. Have all your primitives in there as you're going through. These are simple ones, but you can get very complex and build these all up. So over time, you might get actually too many of them in there to list. So SOLIDWORKS does give you the ability to actually organize those. So let's make a subfolder off of this folder. And I'll call it shafts. And I'll take my shaft parts and I'll move them into that folder. Now as soon as I do that, now watch when I go new. See, I have a shafts tab and my start parts tab. So imagine you can have many different subfolders off of there. Simply SOLIDWORKS recognizes, hey, there's some templates in there, and off I go, we'll be able to build those out.
Oh, that makes it very easy to organize all your data.
Yeah, I hope so.
Are you going to show our audience how to make one?
I'm glad you asked that. So let's do one real quick. So let's say I have, and I like to do this, right, where I actually tell the people where the origins are. And that helps you, because maybe you might want to make it different ways. So let's say I want that. Right now I have one where the origin is right at the very bottom corner of the particular part. Mm-hmm. Maybe I want to change that. Say, what if we want to make that a mid-plane instead? So I'm going to edit that feature. We'll change it from a blind to a mid-plane. Click OK. Now I want to do File, Save As. You see that I have a choice here, and we'll choose to use it as a part template.
So all you got to do is save it as a part template and make sure it goes in the right directory, and you're good to go.
Build it up as you would. I don't even have to worry about the right directory. As soon as I change the parts that you recognize that put me in that folder, and so now I can give this something I might call it a block with centroid at origin.
Yeah, so now you know. And then you can always rename that later, right?
Certainly, because all it does is every time I do new, it looks in that particular folder, and now you'll see when I do File New, you'll have a block with centroid at origin.
Perfect.
So you can quickly do those. You can build those up really quickly as you need to. Good point. I'm glad you shot that. So hopefully everybody's taking advantage of that. Build your start parts up. Start with any part that you want. Do a save as, and now from now on, that's going to be a real quick start part for you. So what I'll show you is we're going back to the automation part. What if I want to be able to even automate that particular block? So it's really pretty good. I got to go on what's left. I have to put the dimensions on there, make a drawing, add it into the system.
Yep. There's still more to do, right?
There's still more to do. And one way that I can do that is actually with DriveWorksXpress. Go to your tools in your SOLIDWORKS, go DriveWorksXpress, and the first time you do this, it's actually going to stop you, and you're going to need to activate your product. So go to your mysolidworks.com.
Which everyone should be on MySolidWorks. If you're not, make sure you have a mysolidworks.com account. There's lots of free tools in there, lots of free training and education also.
How-to videos and such right there. And so the first time you go there, I actually have a little hyperlink right there to the My DriveWorksXpress. Or actually, it's at mysolidworks.com. And then they're going to ask you to sign in. And after you sign in, then they're going to give you a little serial number. Take that serial number, put that into your block, and now you're going to be good to go, and you'll be able to use the DriveWorksXpress. So they just want to make sure that not everybody's, they know who's using the system and the product,
And that should take a couple of minutes.
Yeah, at that, right? There's no human interaction, so we don't have to talk to anybody.
And nothing to download.
Nothing to download, right?
Okay, great.
So after you enter your link code,
Will a sales rep call us once you activate it?
not for that.
Okay, great.
See, sales guys will call you, but not for that reason. So now, like with the tools, DriveWorksXpress, that's going to be available to me here. So I'm going to do the exact same thing we just did before. But instead, I'm going to have DriveWorksXpress do it instead. So I want to go ahead and choose to change it to a database.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to go ahead and choose my block at center origin. So it's actually the name of the origin of the product itself. Click open. Now I have some nice inputs from the user himself. So I can have it already generate the part number for me. And I remember we said that we wanted to do a 1/4 inch high. The width is going to be 3, and the length is going to be 4. Same part as we just did before. I'll hit the create button down here in the bottom right hand side. I hope the video shows it. You see it's building the part, and also the drawings are going to pop up. So now not only is it making the parts, it's also making that drawing too. So this is the exact same part that we just did up, except for DriveWorksXpress did it for me.
Wow. So I mean, what does it take to do all that for you? I mean, it looked like magic, but but was it difficult to program? Is it programming or what is it?
It's not even that. I'll show you a tutorial here in a little bit. But yeah, it can step you through the process, and it's really building up rules, saying, hey, ask the user this information. So I build a dialog box up, take that dialog box information, and then connect that to the dimensions that I want to drive, or features, or internal features on it.
Got it. So that's what DriveWorksXpress is doing, is creating that little, allowing you to use a task pane, build in some of the data that you want, and connecting it to the dimensions.
Yeah, dimensions, and then, as you saw, I don't know if it flashed up too fast before, but now you see that it actually did the drawing for me as well.
That's a lot of automation.
A lot of automation, and it was really pretty quick. I spent not much longer than drawing the actual part to actually putting it into the system here. I'll show you that we can do even more with it too. So it certainly can do more than blocks, otherwise we wouldn't have much of a show here. What if you do step shafts a lot? So again, instead of, you can certainly do this with the start part, but maybe we want to have some different rules in here that maybe the radius maybe depends on different sizes of the diameters. And so if the diameter is significantly, maybe I can make a bigger radius than the other. So I'm actually going to ask the user, hey, what are these 3 different diameters? What are the lengths of each one of these? And I want to go ahead and generate the parts for me as well.
And the drawing.
And the drawing too, yep. So same story as before. I'll start from the beginning, under Tools, DriveWorksXpress. I'm going to change to use a database. Which one do I want to use? In this case, I'm going to use the step shaft.
Got it.
Click open. Again, this dialog box was built by me. What kind of things are important to me to ask the user these questions? So I'm going to have it just generate a part number for me as well. Let's say the shaft length is actually probably 22. In this case, it's a little bit longer than the last one we did. I want the first step to be 1 inch diameter. The second one, let's just make these easy numbers. We'll make it 2. And the first one will be back to 1 again. What's the length going to be? Build this up. Go ahead and create. I'm not even asking the user what the fillets are because I can go ahead and calculate that up. So hopefully you see it building up the individual parts from the rules that I've done. This is the actual diameters that I've done. So that's my 2. This is my 1. Each one of those is built up. And then just as before, we also have, if I go to my recent drawings, here's my drawing already built up to the dimensions.
Nice. Nice.
So again, a lot faster than starting from scratch. How long would that take you from scratch?
Well, from scratch, I mean, that's probably at least 5 to 10 minutes worth of work, right? And then you don't know if, I know if people are in a multi-user environment, sometimes you don't know how they built the part, right? Maybe it was, did they do a cross-section and revolve, or did they take a diameter and extrude? Everyone does it a little differently.
So imagine everybody has that little DriveWorksXpress project. Everybody uses it. Now if you get a particular shaft, you know exactly how it's built, because it was built the same way as the one you looked at before. I don't have to reverse engineer it. I can actually just start using my products over and over again.
That's great. That's going to save a lot of time.
I hope so. I hope so. So up to this point, I've just been showing you particular parts.
Yep.
But I can do even more. I can actually do assemblies. Let's say that I have just a stand that we use over and over again all over the place. And I might have different heights on that particular stand. And let's also imagine that maybe up here at the top, I have some tap holes where I take a cylinder and I mount to it. And of course, different cylinders are going to have different mounting holes, right? And how do you know then what the spacing of the holes are? You got to get a catalog or look up a sheet that you have somewhere taped on your monitor, because I've seen you got a bunch of stuff taped on your monitor.
My whole monitor's full of sticky notes.
Sticky notes, right. And so what are those different types of things? Well, maybe I don't have to have the user do that. I'll just maybe say, hey, what is the cylinder you're going to use, and size accordingly. So we're going to be able to choose the heights, and then also perhaps I need to have the ability to rotate how that cylinder's mounted, because sometimes I go in an X position, sometimes I go in a Y position. Maybe I want to be able to rotate that. So I made a real quick example doing something similar way. Same story. Tools, DriveWorksXpress. Let's change the database. And we're going to change the database to use our pick and place stand. A lot less questions here because I can make a lot of decisions from the earlier choices. Let's make this a little bit shorter because I know it's going to be a 3.0625. Infinite number of sizes I could do. And then maybe have the user pick the actual cylinder type. And then I have a rule saying, hey, if you choose the 201 cylinder, it's going to be a different hole pattern if you choose the 201 cylinder. And then maybe I want to rotate. Is it going to be 90 degrees or not? So this, remember before, just one part. Watch what happens this time. So now it's going to open up each part one at a time, make an associated drawing for it one at a time. Now it's going to do the base, putting the counterbores in, building those up, changing the size of the particular base, making the drawing of the base. Changing, I don't know if you saw this whole pattern change.
I did see that. Yeah.
Here's my drawing. Now it's actually going to do the assembly itself. So it's building the assembly to the height that I've done. Do the assembly drawing. Check out my dimensions are updating as well. So let's go to my dimensions. Let's go to my drawing. Open recent. Here's my pick and place stand. You see that here's the actual dimension built right up and showing as well. So I don't have to all those logics and things that you had to do to teach to build that up. I can build that right into DriveWorks.
So let me ask you this: if somebody's building this stand, and why don't they just take the old one and do a save as, right? I mean, I bet you a lot of people are doing that.
Yeah, that's certainly definitely people are doing that, and why not, right? If you already have something, you can do it over and over again. A couple of risks to that is one is going back to your earlier example, is that do I know the one that I'm copying? How did he build it up? In this case, they're all built the same way.
Yeah.
Plus, you have to look for it, right? Oh my God, which project was it on, and which cell was it in, and where was that? You have to go through there and find it. Here, it's basically treated just like a start part.
Got it.
I can quickly go through there, find that particular part, and go through there. So let's think about this. There was 3 parts, 3 drawings, 6 mates, and I didn't count somewhere between 12 and 20 dimensions. There was a lot of stuff there.
It took about 40 seconds, 30 seconds to make that, and I'm sure if anyone had to start from scratch, that's going to be good 15, 20 minutes.
It took me over 20 minutes to build it the first time, right? And then put the rules on there. So I probably had a half hour in there. So certainly you're not going to do this for onesies, right? If you never do the stand again. But you're going to get payback pretty quickly. If you, hey, how about if you make this 3 times, it's going to be a pretty quick thing. And then of course the best part is free. It's included.
Yeah.
There's nothing on there.
Get started.
Yeah, and certainly there's a learning curve. I'm not going to say that you don't have to do it as well. But the nice thing is that because DriveWorksXpress has been around for quite a while, it's been inside of SolidWorks for several years, there's a lots of YouTube help and things to be able to help you to go as well. Plus there's tutorials. So inside of regular SolidWorks, if I go to help, the tutorials, and under productivity tools, you see down here at the bottom, there is a DriveWorksXpress tutorial. 30 minutes is what they say that you can go through this particular tutorial. And in this tutorial, you're actually going to go through and do an entire assembly. And so you see here, imagine that you're making gantries. And you have the ability to make different size gantries, different configurations to build those up. Because not only can I drive dimensions, I can drive configurations, I can turn on and off features. So you can really do quite a bit of stuff with it.
So would you recommend people at least start using start parts or template files on their parts and assemblies? Or they could jump right into DriveWorksXpress?
I think people should do both. You know, certainly for a block, there's probably not a big payback to putting that in the DriveWorksXpress. Now, certainly the drawing was kind of cool, and certainly I could argue that it'll be a little bit faster, but you can't be just simply going to a part, save as a part, and using it over and over again.
Yeah.
It's fast. If you want to start putting more into it, the more complex your start parts get, then I think you probably ought to be looking at using DriveWorksXpress as your start part tool.
Got it. Yep, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I also want to show you there is a DriveWorksXpress website, and so They're right here, halfway down the DriveWorksXpress, DriveWorksXpress.com. You see that there are more tutorials. So we definitely recommend first do the one built in SOLIDWORKS.
Yeah.
Then use this one. There's 5 nice tutorials built inside of this that you can go through and start using this to learn more about each one of these. So I showed you how to do start parts for parts and assemblies. Lots of times people are a little bit afraid to get into the system because, wow, I see DriveWorksXpress has been doing hundreds of parts and building all that up. And you're certainly welcome to do that, but start small. But if you stand back and think, well, if I can save 50% on just those little parts, imagine save 50% on your bigger parts.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely see that. I think if somebody said, you know what, I've been using DriveWorksXpress, I want to take it to the next level, like you talked about, some things more complex. Maybe I have a large assembly. Like, what's a large assembly to you with DriveWorksXpress?
Yeah, DriveWorksXpress, there's no limit, no practical limit to it. But certainly as you get bigger and bigger, you get into the 20 to 30 parts, DriveWorksXpress does start to get a little more difficult because it gets difficult to filter your parts and go through each one of those. So there are tools to get to do even bigger. You see I have on the screen here the Matrix. There is a DriveWorks Solo product available to the users, which gives you the ability to not only work with bigger assemblies, but give more intelligence to the drawings. Maybe the drawings need to scale and change as we need to go through each one of those.
Yeah, scale and change is important. So if you make long parts, right, you don't want to have a long part that's won't fit on your C-size sheet.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Now, with Express would do it, but now I have to go to that drawing and manually do all the scaling. Versus Solo can make some logic, hey, because it's this long, now I need to be able to scale that particular view or the drawing to build each one of those up.
Well, I also see a DriveWorks Pro. Can you just briefly tell the audience what's the difference between them?
So that takes you to the next level, even past that. So the Solo was one guy sitting at his computer working with the SolidWorks. The Pro gives you the ability to imagine taking that to the web. And so now my sales reps can be doing this stuff. So imagine a sales rep sitting right next to his customer with his iPad, typing in the different sizes, and they're getting feedback right away. Here's exactly what your part's going to look like.
And the 3D model will be there too.
Spin it around, look like what it looks like, and then also generate the quotes. It has the ability to even generate other kinds of files, not only SolidWorks files. So we can generate Office documents, Excel documents, talk to databases, read the data information, push it back and forth. So you can go even more.
Okay.
Even past that.
All right. I think that's the last question, so we are wrapping things up. I want to thank everybody for attending, and I think it was a good session. So Jeff, thanks for showing us how people can be better, faster, smarter.